Hi, I'm Magda. I'm from Saint-Gobain. I would like to welcome you in our Facebook Live. Welcome also you here in the lab in Copernicus Science Center. Everybody who are watching us in Facebook, please give us a sign that you are watching us in comments. Or if you have any technical issues, please also leave your comment. I would also like to welcome here Wiktor Gajewski, Science and Art Director in Copernicus Science Center. Wiktor will try to answer today the question why it is worthwhile to involve society in creating innovation. And trying to say in the short words about Wiktor, I would like to say that Wiktor's mission is to connect science with society. And because it is also the way how Saint-Gobain is thinking about new solutions and combine between society and science is also very important for us. That's why we are here today and together. So, Wiktor, the mic is yours. Please try to answer the question why it is so important to invite people, societies to the creation of innovation.
I'll do my best. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for coming here and listening to me talk, and thank you for opening your online tools, phones, computers, whatsoever, to look at me online. It's a great privilege to talk to such an audience. What I'm going to tell you about and to show how to involve society in innovation are different case studies and examples of how it can be done. Why do we do that? There's this ongoing idea of open innovation, especially in Europe, that is based on a model of quadruple innovation helix. This sounds quite exotic, but this is a theoretical model that says that to create an ecosystem of innovation, you need to involve stakeholders from different areas. You need to involve government, of course, they make the rules. And I really hope I don't make a mistake writing here. You need to involve industry, companies that actually make those products. Also, obviously, scientists, engineers, academia. And last but not least, and what was most interesting for me, citizens. The quadruple helix says that all those stakeholders should connect and work together. And that's why it's interesting for me. Especially, I have to come clean. I have no scientific background whatsoever. I often call myself a professional layman, which means I know very little about science, and every time I have to learn. And for me, it's a very it's a paradox, but it's a very good perspective of what we do in terms of engaging society in science. Because very often, basically, what a lot of science centers, a lot of science institutions do, they invite scientists who have the knowledge about the world to talk with people who want to have this knowledge. They invite people who don't know anything about science. So every time you go to a lecture, attend a science class, or watch a science video on YouTube, you do just that. You try to get knowledge from those who have it. And it's worthwhile to do that. It's obviously very important, as science and technology are a huge part of our world. But for me, this model, when you learn from scientists, is just only a tip of the iceberg. And I'd like to quote something that was very inspiring for me throughout my work, words of Frank Oppenheimer, who is a creator of it is said to be the first science center in the world, Exploratorium in San Francisco. And he once said, it's a long sentence, bear with me, if people feel they understand the world around them, or probably even if they have the conviction that they could understand it, if they wanted to, then and only then are they also able to feel that they can make a difference through their decisions and activities. So what he says here is that all the science engagement things, it's not only about learning. It's about empowering people to make a change in the world. And here, things are starting to be a little more interesting for me. So the thing I described previously to you, when we invite scientists or engineers who know something to tell something to people who don't know anything, this is called, in our line of work, deficit model. It's based mostly on transfer of knowledge, but we go beyond that. And many institutions and many companies also go beyond that. We go towards activities and actions that are focusing or sharing knowledge, both ways, and creating new ideas together. And I would like to give you some examples coming from different words here that are touch points on that kind of interactions. So for example, between academia and citizens, which is the closest area for me, we have citizen science. I will write those touch points on the paper, so you have more, oh my God, this is awful. You have more or less the vision of a concept I'm trying to say here. So, citizen science, and I apologize for my awful handwriting. This is a process where scientists invite lay people, like you and me, in their research. Basically, it's not a very new concept. And on a very grand level, you are invited to analyze data. For example, look at pictures of space on the internet and try to spot galaxies. Or walk around your home or work and try to identify species of different plants. But more and more, scientists are more open to invite people into the laboratories to do research together. For example, there was a paper published this year in Australia with researchers together with school children from age 7 to 17 that were researching pollinators. They published a paper about bees in Australia. And there's also a very interesting service that brings us closer to innovation, which are science shops. Science shops are institutions usually created around the universities where people from different backgrounds, not only scientists, can come and ask a question about something to improve in their lives. And a science shop have a task to translate this question into a scientific question to be ready for research. For example, in Groningen, 9 years ago, one student noticed that in the park by the river there are lamps that disturb bats. Because the LED light, the white LED light is disturbing bats flying around, because they're attracting them too much and it's messing up their life, basically. So together with the university, they started research on different kinds of LED lights and decided that the green light is the best one to be good for people who walk by the river so that they can still see things and not distracting for bats. So all those small inventions can come when you invite people into the laboratory and let them ask questions about things that concern them in life. These are examples from the academia, how it's opening to people. But business is opening to people as well. For example, you might know, working at Saint-Gobain, you might know the design thinking method. If no, this is something I would like to introduce you to, because sometimes we also work in Copernicus with this method, inviting public to design thinking process. So design thinking is a model of work. If you want to work on a new idea, a new product, you start from empathy. Design thinking says that you're not supposed to go into production with a ready-made idea of the product you want. First, you should talk to possible customers, people around you, and check what are their actual needs, what problems they need to solve. Then, obviously, this is very close to marketing focus groups. It's nothing new. What design thinking brings into the discussion, into the process, is testing and experimentation. If you will attend a design thinking marathon, you will be asked to build prototypes, simple prototypes from paper and straws and so on, and show them to your possible customers, ask them what they think about it, try to give them the approximation of the product, and if they don't like it, you go back to point zero. You go back to talking to them, looking for ideas together with them. This way, you are guaranteed to fail early, but you end up with a product that is adjusted to human needs. There's more and more talk in innovation about centering innovation around users, around humans. Instead of just figuring out something as a specialist, you are invited to look at what people need and what how they can contribute to your process. Sorry, I will look at my cheat sheet here. But obviously you might be skeptical because it's not very feasible to fix the world problems with just paper and straw prototypes. But today we have more and more opportunities to create working prototypes with new digital technologies. And as an example, I have here, I should make a joke about something to give me a hand. Nevertheless, this was printed here at Copernicus. Looks like a toy, but this is actually prosthesis for people who don't have fingers. It's very simple, well, and sophisticated at the same time. It's printed from plastic. It has some fingers that they can move. They are all connected here with pieces of wire and some rubbers, and this works in a way that someone who doesn't have fingers, unfortunately I have fingers, so I will use it.
Lucky you.
I have to fake it a bit. So you put your hand here, and by moving your wrist, you can have a grip. Well, it's a demonstration model. It's not working very well, but you can adjust it to your own hand. You can print it on your own. So you can have a very simple prosthesis that will enable you to grab things. You might have seen videos on Facebook with children getting this for Christmas. So this has been making rounds around the world as a very interesting invention. And
it looks really like a magic, really.
Please try. Not try. You can break it if you like. We will make new ones. So why I'm showing you this example? This is the example of what I call grassroots innovation. Innovation coming to the market from needs of users. This is a design from a guy called Ivan Owen. He's an artist/engineer, and he worked together with many collaborators, together with a foundation in Portugal called Patient Innovation. This foundation is gathering ideas how to help people with different health problems with easy tools, and together they designed this prototype and different ones, and instead of patenting it, instead of making a patent, they released the plans to internet. So now anyone with a 3D printer and some skills can make it for themselves and develop this project. Well, you don't have a 3D printer probably, or maybe you have a Saint-Gobain. You might have a 3D printer. But nevertheless, this connects with another trend in, that's called digital fabrication. And so if you would like to make a hand like that, or any other product you have an idea for, you can look for a Fab Lab. Fab Labs is short for fabrication laboratories. That's another touch point. Fab Lab. Those are spots, usually little workshops. There are a couple of workshops. I think there's one in every big city that can give you access to tools like 3D printers, laser cutters, microcomputers, and also the typical construction tools like, for example, nail and a hammer, to help you create tools for yourself, products, new ideas. This is a trend in grassroots innovation that enables people to come to places that they can work on their own ideas. And all those things are more and more accessible, and the community is connected together with the openness and sharing of all the plans, all the data. So you can get a training and a space to work in a Fab Lab like that and create new technologies and new ideas that solve your problems. Another trend, very much connected to this openness of technology and the idea of collaboration, are hackathons. You might have heard about hackathons. They originally come from Silicon Valley, and they have spread around the world. This year, even Vatican did a hackathon. So they are everywhere. To explain what a hackathon is, it's best to talk about what a hacker is. So you might know about hackers from media as people who destroy websites, steal passwords, and do a lot of crimes online. But originally, the word hack in programming jargon means a solution, a code, a solution that works, but it's not very elegant, a quick solution, so to say. So hackathons are just about that. They are events that usually last around 24 hours that invite people, originally coders, now it's expanding, to work on challenges in a very quick time, try to develop things together and test them and show them to, there's usually a prize, there's a jury, and the winning ideas get some money to be developed further. So this, thanks to that kind of technologies like 3D printing, you don't have to be a coder to attend a hackathon, and hackathons usually now invite people from very different backgrounds to work together on challenges. For example, in Vatican, the challenges were focused on social inclusion, migrants, and also interfaith dialogue. So if you can hack interfaith dialogue, you can hack everything, basically. I know there's a hackathon running right now in Saint-Gobain in France. It's been running for a couple of weeks. The topic is circular economy in building and waste management. They've been gathering ideas for possible solutions from startups and students. And just before Christmas, there'll be a final event where the magic will happen, and hopefully some cool ideas will come from that, and some new ideas for Saint-Gobain will also come from that. In Copernicus, we did hackathons around health issues and medicine together with doctors and engineers and designers and artists. So it might sound very incidental for you, all those events and those little spaces, but what emerges now in the spirit of co-creation and what invites companies to collaborate as well is the idea of, I forgot about hackathons. That's a mess. And so the idea of living labs. It's living lab are institutions that try to connect different stakeholders from the whole quadruple helix of innovations into creating solutions for people. So they involve big companies, small companies, startups, students, researchers, and even local communities to talk together about how they can, how we can build new innovations using tools like I described before. So living labs can organize hackathons, they can organize focus group sessions, just to generate new ideas and involve people not only in the initial accidental stage of innovation, but also in actually developing products and putting them on the market. It's interesting, I think there are at least 3 working living labs in Poland, in Kraków, Poznań, and Kielce. There's one being built in Warsaw, and there are different living labs around the world. I've just learned about the living lab in Dublin that's dealing with smart cities, and one of the inventions coming from the living lab are the bins for the city streets that send emails when they are overfilled, so it's easier to monitor waste management in the city. Internet of Things and urban living are very common topics for that kind of places, because a city is a natural habitat for a living lab, because everyone is there, government, communities. There's a lot of movement around that in Netherlands when living labs develop new ideas for housing, for students, for migrants, and try to deal with such big challenges together with people that are directly involved in that. So I don't know how much time we have left, but I'm closing to the end. How long am I speaking? 5 minutes, perfect. So to wrap up, why do all of this? Why to involve all these stakeholders in this quadruple helix of innovation? And why is it worthwhile to involve people in that kind of processes? Obviously, it would be faster and simpler just to leave scientists and engineers and designers alone in their labs. They would work quicker, get things ready. But often companies meet with this situation when they release a product and it's not really working, or people don't accept it, don't want to buy it or protest it. Involving people enables companies and scientists to meet the needs and meet the values of society. And this is very important right now, because no one company, not one scientist can solve the big problems around the world. For example, global warming. I know that Saint-Gobain is very invested in sustainability and so on. Global warming is a thing that we have to, everyone in society, every institution should work on to stop. So in a world of those big entangled problems, it's important to include many perspectives, and perspectives of users especially, and center the innovation around humans to make sure they will work and they will respect the values of society. And this creates an opportunity, a new career opportunity for hopefully many of you in front of the screen, to train skills, train your collaboration skills, train your facilitation skills, courage and creativity, because those are soft skills very important in the innovation field. Innovation now needs people who are open-minded, who know how to facilitate connections, who listen to people, who can listen to the community, and who also build trust in this whole process. The same goes with the companies. Companies now open for professional collaborations and work together on new products, share knowledge, share know-how, and try to build those innovations together. We shouldn't be innovating in a bubble, because this bubble is very easy to burst. I encourage you to look for that kind of opportunities in your free time, or even your paid time. Go visit a Fab Lab, print something, attend a hackathon, even if you don't think it's in your skill. Try to meet people, try to learn new stuff, awaken your curiosity, and maybe this will come, and this will be a path of your career. So hopefully I gave you a quick overview of different opportunities there coming from science, business, and other different gray zones of our work. And hopefully we will meet at some of those events and we can change the world together. And with this positive note,
Yeah.
that's all from me.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this amazing lecture. It was really great to hear you and to know everything about what you said. And I have to say that I didn't know that there are a lot of initiatives which are connecting people with scientists. So this is great that we have
Scientists
this.
and also the businesses, because it's the most interesting when business comes in. That opens up for new ideas from outside sources.
Really great. So this is time for questions. Do you have any questions? I'm checking if we have some questions in comments. Do you see any? Because I can see any. And here, do you have questions? Because I have one, but I don't want to be the first one.
Shoot me.
All right. So. I really feel invited to fun labs and hackathons, and how to be the part of this, how we can find information that somewhere is the fun lab or hackathon is going to be run.
Obviously, Google is the best source of information. I'm not kidding.
Great.
There's a webpage, I think it's hackathons.com, that tries to aggregate all the hackathons all around the world, so you can see them happening. Fab Labs actually form a formal network. To be a Fab Lab, you have to meet a certain rules or criteria of the equipment you have on site and skills of people you have on site. And there's a page for Fab Labs as well that lists all Fab Labs that have this official license in the world. It's a free license, but to be an official Fab Lab, you have to meet a certain criteria and a certain standard of work. So there is a separate web page for Fab Lab network. And hackathons also very often register to this central database on the hackathon web page. I think it's hackathon.com, as easy, but
hackathon.com.
I think that web pages are the thing of the past, so it's best to just Google.
Good.
Sometimes we organize hackathons as well at Copernicus, so
we can follow your page and see what's happening. And what about Science Shop? Because I like this idea, and not only because it is a shop. How it is organized, and do you have any science shops in Poland?
I think there's being a science shop formed now in Poznań. So it's good to follow what they do. I don't remember which institution. It's a very fresh idea in Poland. In Europe, there's a network called Living Knowledge. They have the conference yearly, and they register our science shops there. So it's usually best to reach there for case studies or for examples of how that kind of institutions can work.
Great.
Living Knowledge.
Great. So do you have any other questions? Yes, there is a question.
Yes. Do you have the regular contact with the startup as Copernicus Center? Do you work on the regular basis? Do you organize some possibility of connections, of meetings with people who create and work in startups?
Yes, because we try to, we have one festival every year called Przemiany Festival. It's a festival about the future. We try to present art and science around different scenarios of the future. And for that festival, we often try to invite some startups to showcase their technologies during the exhibition and to talk with public. We try to invite them on the basis that this is a place where you can actually talk with your potential future customers and discuss your solutions with them. Years ago, we did something I didn't mention here, but it's very popular in the business world. We tried to open a temporary incubator for businesses here in Copernicus around urban health, how we can develop our Warsaw to be a more healthy city. And we invited people from startups and from academia and artists to work together on monthly workshops to create new ideas together. So we demonstrate, but we also give opportunities to work on new solutions with us. Also in education, we try to work with companies that create educational tools to research what are the best tools for, but this is our field, education, and how to reach out with science to students and so on.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. How the whole process of from the innovation to the product looks like?
This is a very tough question.
Yeah, I know, because when you started, you have an idea first, right? And how it looks to start working with an idea, the test, and the whole like process.
So thankfully, there are more and more opportunities, especially in big cities, to get funding for your ideas. There are innovation centers and incubators that are a good starting point. So if you have an idea, you need funding to have it. And you can apply for different levels of funding. You can get some seed funding, basically free money to experiment, but this obviously ends, and when you scale up, you need more funding from venture capital, and it's best to work with a company and try to find a company that will work with your idea. I was listening a little bit about how products in Saint-Gobain are developed, and usually it takes years from a concept to a product to actually reach a market, especially when you're, for example, working on a windshield of a car, because at some point you have to have a factory that will produce those things to sell them to car manufacturers. So there's a whole ecosystem in work here, and it's I think the first step is networking and attending networking events that are organized usually by innovation centers, knowledge transfer centers, for example, in academia, and try to push those ideas. Obviously, it helps if you have a patent, but sometimes you want to decide not to have a patent to, for example, release something to the world. So I think that, as I said, facilitation skills and collaboration skills are crucial right now.
Important to know. Yes, and I saw there is one more question here in the front.
I have a different question, I hope. We have a few fab labs already in Saint-Gobain bearings where we try to find different products for automotive market. And the fab labs exist over 2 years already. And what I recognize is that people are getting so excited and engaged to try the different new products. But over the time, the engagement is decreasing. Also the interest to the market, and also the collaboration with the customers. So my question is how to keep, the engagement and the motivation to still look on the innovative ideas.
It's very difficult, especially in collaboration, when you have many people involved, because sometimes the personal interest also much. Sometimes one wants to have more power over the project. Someone has some other issues around it, or in their life, so they cannot contribute too much. I think again this goes back to support and funding from the company. If there's someone who will sponsor the idea and let it go, push it forward in the process. I'm personally mostly engaged on this idea moment, so for me it's also difficult to scale up, basically. But what we do, for example, with educational tools, we always find someone who is interested in basically putting a product on the market and selling it. So I think it's important to involve mentors and people who will be able to basically buy the project, if not with the money, but with support in terms of managing the company network, basically. Again, that might not be too much of an advice, but what I saw in a project we did in the incubation here in Copernicus, that without support from the beginning from someone who will possibly profit from the idea, then it's really hard to push it forward. But then again, what is maybe not an answer for your question, but words of encouragement, the skills you create in a Fab Lab are transferable to other fields of work. So if you work for a bit on a new idea that will not go anywhere, you get to learn how to collaborate, how to use new tools, how to assess ideas, how to test and how to pitch ideas, for example, and this is helpful in work in general. So even if you don't aim at final product to reach the market, you will get people who are more skilled when it comes to other tasks in work. So keep on doing this, hopefully.
And Wiktor, is the knowledge and the feeling that there is someone who is waiting for the new solution helpful with the motivation and with the way how you work with innovation?
Well, obviously, and that is this hand was the original design was made for a boy in Africa. So there was a certain person who will receive the first prototype and try to test it. That's why it's easier to talk about, for example, all this innovation is in health, because patients are usually the most mobilized group in the society to look for solutions for their life. So it is when there's citizen groups that are pressing you towards a certain kinds of innovation, it's easier to put them to use.
It gives power.
It gives power to the people, definitely.
Yes. Do you have more questions? And technical team, do we have still time for questions? All right, so we are able to be finished. Thank you once again very
Thank you very
much
much.
for this nice new knowledge and for the way how you are thinking about innovation and what you share with us. Thank you everybody here in Lab, and thank you everybody there in Facebook. Thank you very much.